Let me say something that's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. The American dream is not dead, but the version they sold you, go to college, get a stable job, work 40 years, retire, that version, that's a lie and not an accident. It's a system that was specifically designed to keep you working for someone else's dream while yours collects dust on a shelf. I know because I lived it. At 22, I was doing everything right. College degree, entry-level corporate job, 401k contributions, and I was absolutely miserable and broke. Not homeless broke, just paycheck to paycheck broke. One unexpected bill away from disaster broke. Then I made a decision that changed everything. And today, I'm going to walk you through the exact 5 phases that took me from that cubicle to financial freedom before I turned 30. No crypto luck, no rich parents, no viral moment, just a brutally honest framework that nobody in school ever taught you. Let's get into it. Phase 1, the drift. Here's the first phase, and honestly, most people never leave it. I call it the drift. You know that feeling when you're doing stuff, staying busy, but somehow nothing is actually moving forward. That's drifting, and America is full of drifters. They scroll TikTok, watching other people build wealth. They apply to jobs hoping for a raise. They say things like, I'm figuring it out, or I'm working on something. But weeks turn into months, turn into years, and they're still in the exact same spot. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Drifting feels safe because you're never actually failing, but you're not winning either. And in a country where inflation is eating your savings, where rent in most cities has doubled in a decade, where student debt is strangling an entire generation, staying still is the same as falling behind. I want you to pause for a second and be brutally honest with yourself. Are you drifting right now? Not just in finances, in life. Are you reacting to what happens to you, or are you actively building something? Because here's what nobody tells you. The economy doesn't care about your potential. It doesn't reward people who are almost ready. It rewards people who move. The average American spends 7 hours a day consuming content. 7 hours. And less than 30 minutes a day on anything that could actually build their future. That's not a hustle problem. That's a priority problem. The drift is seductive because it's comfortable, but comfort is the enemy of wealth, and the first step out of it isn't finding the right opportunity. It's making a decision, a real one, a decision backed by obsession. Phase 2, the obsession. In America, people love the idea of being rich. They hate the process of getting there. They want the Tesla in the driveway. They don't want the 14-month grind to build something that pays for it. And that gap between wanting wealth and being obsessed with building it is exactly why most people stay broke. Phase 2 is the obsession, and I mean that literally. When I decided I was going to build financial freedom, I became annoying about it. My friends thought I was weird. My family thought I was having some kind of crisis because I stopped talking about going out, stopped watching Netflix for months, and started spending every free hour learning one thing, not 10 things, one thing. This is where most young Americans sabotage themselves. You're trying to learn stock trading and start a side hustle and build a personal brand and learn crypto and meditate and go to the gym all at once. And you're wondering why nothing is clicking. Here's a reality check. The people who built real wealth in their 20s were obsessed with one skill, one market, one lane, until they dominated it. Then they expanded. Think about it like this. Imagine someone says they want to go pro in basketball, but they're also training for a marathon, learning piano, and trying to make it as a YouTuber simultaneously. You'd tell them they're crazy. The same logic applies to building wealth. Obsession isn't toxic. Obsession with the wrong thing is toxic. Obsession with building real skills and real income. That's the only path I've seen work consistently. So before you move to phase 3, you need to pick your lane, one lane, and commit to it like your financial future depends on it, because it does. Phase 3, the discovery. Okay, you've decided to stop drifting. You're locked in. Now what? This is the phase where most people either explode forward or spiral into paralysis. I call it the discovery, and it's the most practical phase of all. Here's the mistake I see constantly. People think they need to invent something new, some revolutionary app, some untapped niche, some genius idea nobody's thought of. Wrong. The fastest path to income is not innovation. It's observation. Find something that's already working and ask yourself, how do I get there too? In America right now, there are 25-year-olds making over $200,000 a year, doing things like running paid ads for local businesses, editing short-form video content for creators, building and flipping e-commerce stores, closing high-ticket sales on commission, managing social media for personal brands. None of these require a degree. None of these require startup capital. They require one thing: finding someone who's already doing it and learning exactly how they did it. When I was starting out, I didn't sit in my apartment Googling how to make money. I found people who were already where I wanted to be, and I studied them obsessively. Not celebrities, not billionaires, real people, 2 or 3 steps ahead of me, who could show me the actual blueprint. This is what I call your cheat code. Think about it. If you wanted to get jacked, you'd hire a trainer who's already built the body you want. You wouldn't spend 3 years figuring out nutrition science from scratch. Why would building wealth be any different? Find your model, study their path, reverse engineer their process, then execute. And here's something specific to the American market that most people overlook. The opportunity here is massive, precisely because most people are too comfortable to go after it. The consumer market is enormous. Small businesses are desperate for help with marketing, content, and sales. If you build even one valuable skill and you actually get good at it, the demand is there. The question is whether you're willing to do the work to close the gap between where you are and where your model is. Phase 4, the acceleration. This is the phase nobody wants to talk about because it's not glamorous. Phase 4 is the acceleration, and it's where real separation happens. Once you've picked your lane and found your model, it's time to execute, badly at first. And that's exactly the point. In America, we have this weird relationship with failure. We celebrate it in speeches and TED Talks, but in real life, people are terrified of it. They spend months preparing and planning and building the perfect foundation, which is really just procrastination, wearing a productive disguise. Here's what I did when I was starting out. I started before I was ready. Charged my first client less than I should have. Delivered work that wasn't perfect. Got feedback, improved, repeated. The gap between where you start and where you need to be. That gap closes through reps. Not through consuming more content. Not through planning more. Through doing the thing, getting feedback, and doing it better. And this is where I need to be real with you about feedback. Most people in your life, your parents, your friends, your roommates, they love you, but they are the worst people to give you feedback on your work. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't have the expertise to tell you what's actually wrong. So they say, "That's great," and you go on believing you're further along than you are. I see this constantly with people trying to build an audience, start a business, or develop a skill. They get soft feedback from soft people and wonder why they're not growing. You need harsh, specific, expert feedback from people who have no emotional investment in protecting your ego. Because here's the truth about the acceleration phase. The people who grow fastest aren't the most talented. They're the most coachable. They're the ones who can hear, "This isn't working," and immediately ask, "Okay, what do I change?" Now, I also want to talk about something that most money YouTubers skip over because it's uncomfortable. This phase is lonely. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When you're in acceleration mode, saying no to parties, waking up early, spending weekends building instead of brunching, your social circle will shrink. Friends will stop inviting you to things. Some people will call you boring or obsessed or not fun anymore, and you're not yet successful enough to have built a new circle. You're in this weird middle zone, too focused to fit into your old life, not yet arrived enough for the new one. This period breaks most people. They choose belonging over building. They drift back into mediocrity because it's less lonely there. But the people who push through, they come out the other side with a completely different life. My advice, find at least one person going through the same phase. Not someone who's already made it. Someone who's in the trenches with you right now. That shared struggle creates a bond that's worth more than any motivational speech. Communities, masterminds, Discord servers, local meetups. Find your people. Don't do this alone. Phase 5, the freedom. Okay, let's talk about what's on the other side of all of this. Phase 5 is the freedom, and it's more complicated than it looks on Instagram. When the money starts coming in, real money, not just a few $100 from a side hustle, you're going to face a choice that will define the next decade of your life. You can spend it, or you can multiply it. America has a spending problem. We are marketed to 24/7. Every platform, every ad, every influencer is designed to make you feel like you're behind, like you need the new car, the designer fit, the luxury apartment, to signal that you've made it. And the saddest part, most people who start making real money fall for exactly this trap. They upgrade their lifestyle immediately. Then, their expenses eat their income. Then, they're right back to being broke, just with nicer stuff. Real wealth isn't about what you earn. It's about the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and what you do with that gap. Here's what I did when income started compounding. I kept my lifestyle flat for as long as I could. Every extra dollar went into assets, index funds, skill development, a second income stream. Not because I was cheap, because I understood that money invested in your 20s is worth 10 times what it's worth in your 40s. The math is brutal in both directions. Compound interest builds empires. Lifestyle inflation destroys them. And here's the thing about the American market specifically. The opportunities for reinvestment are enormous. There are more ways to build passive income here than almost anywhere else in the world. Dividend stocks, real estate, content that pays while you sleep, business equity. The infrastructure exists. You just have to choose to use it instead of spending everything on stuff that loses value the second you buy it. Here's my final challenge to you. Most people watch videos like this, feel inspired for 48 hours, and then go back to exactly what they were doing. The algorithm feeds them the next video. The dopamine resets. Nothing changes. Don't be that person. Pick one thing from this video, just one, and do it today, not tomorrow, not after the weekend, today. Because every day you spend in the drift is a day you're handing your future to someone else to manage. And nobody, no employer, no government, no system is going to hand you financial freedom. You have to build it. You have everything you need to start. The only question is whether you're actually going to. I'll see you on the other side. Here's the thing I want you to remember above everything else. The version of you that watches this video and does nothing with it, that version stays broke. And the version that picks one thing, just one, and acts on it today, that version changes their entire financial trajectory.